Hey folks, today we're going to mail order some fish. I wanted to make a video that really encompasses everything you need to know about it. I've got advice from Rachel O'Leary and the whole adventure coming up in just a few seconds. Hey YouTube, this is Pecktec, and this video today, actually, it's a story that goes back all the way to the beginning of the year. I had met Rachel at the Aquatic Experience in Chicago. Now, I didn't get to talk to her for very long there. It was really busy at the Aquatic Experience. So the next opportunity I had to really talk to her was at the big fish deal that she encouraged me to go to. I had such a great time there. I met a lot of nice people, and we did an interview. And in that interview, I said something along the lines of, leave a comment down below if you want to see me unbox a fish from Miss Jinx here. Is it Jinx or Jinxed?
Jinxed.
Miss Jinxed.
Because if there wasn't bad luck, I'd have none at all.
Oh, okay. When I met her, I thought, that would be a pretty fun collaboration, but it kind of went all summer where one thing was going on with me or something was going on with her. I was trying to get that dirted tank up the way I wanted because that's what I was going to, use the order to start to fill up. Finally, everything coalesced. And today, I'm getting my fish. I really wanted some commentary from the other side of the fence, from the people that send you the fish. So it's not just about how to do it. I mean, you can go to a website and plug in how many fish you want, pay shipping, and determine the time it's going to arrive and that sort of thing anywhere. But sometimes when you order a fish, like if you're really serious about it, maybe you want to talk to the person. Maybe you want to really make sure you get what you need. Alright, so I made up a list of questions for Rachel that I thought would be kind of relevant, really interesting, and she was kind enough to answer them all for me. We're going to listen to that now, and we'll be right back to the adventure.
Hi Sean, I got your questions, so I printed them out and thought I'd take a minute to answer them on camera for you. The first one you asked me is, what is the best time of year to get fish shipped? Or what is the best time of year to order fish? And that really depends on a few things. What fish do you want? What is their source, meaning do they come from the wild or are they farmed? And what is your weather like? I ship almost every week of the year. I do take some time off around the holidays because it's really prone to delays, but otherwise I ship just about every week. Now that doesn't mean that there won't be delays if we have a profoundly hot or profoundly cold period, either at where I live or where the fish are going. It's best to pay attention to your weather report and order when it's a good time to receive. Shipping is a big thing, and a lot of people do it a lot of different ways, and there's not one right way to do it. Over the years, I have stopped utilizing the United States Postal Service and gone exclusively to FedEx for livestock, and that's for a few reasons. I like to be able to provide really good tracking information for my customers. I find that FedEx's tracking is relatively accurate. I can get a person on the phone, they can give me real answers, and they generally know where my box is. They also have guaranteed delivery times. The other thing that's good about them is that I'm a known shipper with FedEx, meaning I've had my packaging inspected and they've approved it to ship live creatures. This means if there should be damage to the box gets lost, or anything like that, I can actually make and receive reimbursement from FedEx. There's a few different ways that you can package fish better for them to go long distances, and a lot of that is experience and knowing about the species. You asked me if there are any rules for shipping fish the post office will give you a hard time about, and the answer is yes, and that's why I've stopped using them. They want to know if you have any liquids, perishables, etc. in the box, and they changed their rules for shipping live animals a few years ago, allowing for up to 2 additional days of delivery time for them to handle them properly. For me, extra time with fish is not acceptable. I want them there as fast as possible. I have controlled the entire environment inside the box, so their handling should really not matter. They've also stopped guaranteeing their delivery times, which also can cause obstacles for my customers. If you know a package of fish is coming by, say, 3:30 in the afternoon, you know to be home. Because their tracking is not very accurate, it can be really difficult for customers to get real updates on when to expect their package. Is it absolutely necessary to ship overnight, or is that mainly a situational thing, like a sensitive fish or weather? Here's the thing, especially with the critters that I deal with, faster is always better. You know, the least amount of time and a small volume of water being jostled and going through temperature changes is obviously less stressful on the fish. My preference for fish is always overnight. That doesn't mean that slower methods can't work. But the difficult thing with small fish in particular is that if they're in that water for a duration and there's any amount of accumulated ammonia, which is bound to happen just from their natural bodily processes, they can get damage that you can't readily see with your eyes, specifically to their gills. So slower methods means more prolonged exposure to this ammonia and can cause difficulty with their acclimation to your aquarium and their long-term health. That doesn't mean that the vast majority of them don't rebound fine, but that additional stress can make them more prone to secondary issues. So in my mind, if you're going to order something alive online, you should definitely budget for the fastest shipping possible. Now, the nice thing about shipping is while the initial output is a bit pricey, the bigger the order, the more weight, but the actual shipping expenses don't go up that much per pound. So it's worth it in a lot of cases to save up and get several things at once to sort of maximize your fish to shipping ratio. I do think that second day AM service is a perfectly appropriate shipping method as well, as long as the weather is not particularly extreme. Heat packs work on a curve, meaning they get hot very quickly and then they die out over time. So that first, 12 to 24 hours is the easiest for the shipper to control. And the same goes for cold packs. They start out frozen and then they just get cooler over time. So once you get over about 24 hours, the vast majority of the time, those cold packs aren't really functioning. So while I wouldn't say that it's necessary to ship overnight, I really feel like it's in the best interest of the vast majority of creatures. In fact, with some particularly sensitive, delicate, or expensive creatures, airport to airport shipping is heavily advised. How has mail-ordered fish changed the hobby? Well, it's really opened up the availability to hobbyists to get anything that they want, not what is just available in their stores. And that's great for hobbyists, but it's been really hard for stores. They used to rely on those hobbyists coming in, purchasing their supplies, purchasing their equipment, and purchasing their fish. Stores have a lot of overhead, and they need those sales to make it worth it. And that's one of the reasons I try and focus on mainly fish that I've never been able to get in stores. I think what's been hard for me since mail order has gotten so popular is that there's a lot of overnight businesses cropping up with people who get wholesale accounts and sell fish, but they don't really have the knowledge behind the husbandry or information about the species in order to guide clients well. And I think the biggest problem is in this hobby is that new people get bad advice or inappropriate stocking. They get their tank, they put their fish in it, it becomes disastrous and they quit. And we need new people to stick around. And one of the main reasons I don't have a shopping cart on my website is because I really like to answer questions first. I want to know what your goals are for your tank. What sort of behavior do you want to see? What colors do you like? What's your water like? What temperature can you maintain? So that I can really try and help, especially new people, have long-term success in this hobby. As we all know, multiple tank syndrome is a very real thing, but only if it goes well. And you also asked me, what can you do to prepare to receive new fish? And I think the most important thing anyone can do is have a quarantine tank. I don't care the source you're getting it from. I don't care if it's from your best friend who's sending you new fish. I don't care if it's from me. I don't care if it's, from Aquabit or any other online retailer. Shipping is inherently stressful. A fish that is seemingly perfect in its home aquarium can be shipped, and the stress of shipping can cause secondary problems to arise. Even if it's just ammonia burn, you know, those fish need to be nurtured and really looked after carefully in the first week or two after shipping. This means really clean, good quality water that is kept consistent. This means really good quality food the first week or two. And this means being able to see them easily so that you can monitor if there are any problems arising. I find this to be easiest to do in a relatively bare tank, maybe with a small amount of plants, so that we can see what they're eating, how they're eating, if they're pooping, what they're pooping, and their overall behavior, color, and condition. Is there anything else I wish a fish keeper would do when they placed an order? That's a really tough question. And I would have to say that really goes on an inquiry by inquiry basis. Some people know exactly what they want when they come to me and they give me their order, they give me their zip code, and they just want to pay for their fish and be done with it. Other people need a bit more help. And I wish that more people would be willing to ask for advice and be transparent about their goals for their aquarium so that I could help them better. Hope that helps.
Thanks, Rachel. That is great. It's so rare to really get in with an expert and find out what they know, and I appreciate your time. At the time I talked to Rachel, I had not mail ordered a fish before. Since then, I actually did get one. I had intended to make a video for it, but I really never got a chance. Things got really busy at the time. So I made a friend at the Big Fish deal. His name's William, or goes by Chance, I believe.
That's my voice there.
Who had pelvic sores?
Yeah, there you go.
And he's got the Cichlid Garden. That's the name of his mail order business. And I ordered an Apistogramma. It ended up being a really, really beautiful fish. And he's doing great. I have him there with my female in the 55-gallon tank. And she doesn't like him too much yet. But I'm hoping that eventually they'll get along and I'll have maybe some baby cichlids soon. I mean, they are in a public, they're in a community tank together. So it probably won't happen, but he's still a really beautiful fish, and it's fun to see them interact together. Mail ordering fish shouldn't be really that complicated, but there are issues that can arise, like this one that I did not expect at all. All right, so I go to pick up the fish, and these guys don't accept live animals, so I made a pretty rookie mistake. It seems some FedEx offices will not hold things like live ammo, alcohol, and live animals. The truck will come back and unload anything it could not deliver back in the main office around 6 o'clock. The same shop also has a haircut place, so there's one way to kill some time. Okay, so it's finally time to go get the fish. And I'm heading over to the main post office. It's been running around in the truck all day. I know Rachel packs her stuff really good though, so I'm not too worried about it. A few extra hours, it's not great, it's not ideal, but hopefully it won't do any harm. So I'm heading over to the other FedEx office to finally pick up these fish. Okay, finally here. Let's get these guys. Here they are. All we gotta do is get them home and unpacked as quickly as I can. So if you have to redirect a package, you might want to try to do it towards a hub or one of the bigger locations that will actually store fish. I'm not sure how you know that. Like if you can look it up on their webpage or anything. I know when I signed on to the webpage last night it kind of occurred to me that I might not be home by the time these things come because they're set to arrive before 10:30. And I had to work till about 12:30, so I thought it'd be real convenient just to send it to the closest one to my house, but there's no indication or anything about limitations on what can be delivered to those locations, so it was a little confusing. And then apparently the driver didn't log things the way we were supposed to, so it took like 30 minutes to find the package, but they found it eventually. Oh, the other confusion was they thought it was fish you eat, so they were looking for a big frozen package when actually it's live fish. Kind of a funny story. They said, oh, we thought these were food fish. And I said, oh, they are food fish. I just prefer to eat them live. Okay, folks, we're in the garage now, and I apologize. It's really loud in here. We've got the air conditioner over there. We've got this thing humming away, so These guys have had a long trip, so I'm gonna go ahead and get them going just as soon as possible. All right, let's see. I've got 2 of these catfish. I'm not 100% certain how to pronounce the name, and I asked to see if she could try to get me a male and a female, and she said she would try it. This is the male. All right, and here is the female. And here I've got the green neons. Green neon tetras. All right, here's some more. They all look good. Here's the label. See this stuff here? I can't remember what she called it. There's this stuff that they put in here and it helps dissipate any ammonia buildup. Uh-oh, don't roll away. Notice that the bags are packed with more air than water. It's really important that they have enough oxygen to make the trip. And I'm afraid I'm stressing them out by getting them this close. This guy especially is starting to flip out. So we're gonna get them out of here. All right, I've been soaking my net in anticipation of this. So what I'm gonna do is just kind of set the net on this bucket. I of course don't want any of the water that they were shipped in to make it in there. I'm just going to cut this off the top to make things a little quicker. I'm going to pour them straight into this net, capture them, and release the water. And they go straight to this tank. Make sure there's nothing in the bag. One actually went into the bucket. All right. All right, and the catfish. I'm not sure how easy this will be. Suckermouth fish are particularly tricky to net. Usually they have barbels somewhere. I meant to read and see what this guy has, but I did not. All right, so he did not release, so we're gonna put the bag in here. There you go. All right, last one. That guy did not want to come out of the bag at all. All right, this one actually came into the net. Woo, stress. So the fish sat in quarantine for about a week, and I looked in to take care of them. I did the occasional water change and that sort of thing. I didn't put a heater in this tank because the garage stays at a relative like 77, 78 degrees pretty much all the time. Anytime I go in there, I have a thermometer to check. And so I just left the tank as is and put a sponge filter that was a little bit seasoned and an air stone in there. This is a 20-gallon tank that I got at $1 per gallon sale at Pecktec. The fish all seem relatively clean, and I didn't see any problems with them, so I didn't add any medications. I didn't want to add anything, didn't want to complicate matters any by doing that. And I got a question actually last week that talked a little bit about, you know, do I add medications whether they seem like they need them or not? No, I don't. I don't know if that's right though. If you guys that know more than me about this sort of thing want to comment on that. One bit of the rationale, however, is that I already know that Rachel quarantines hers for a couple of weeks before she even puts them up for sale. She has her own QT method. She keeps things very clean. I've seen her operation through video at least. So I didn't think it's necessary to go hit them with a bunch of medications. I more wanted them to acclimate to my water here in Tennessee. Some of you might have questions about why I picked the fish I picked. I talked to Rachel a little bit about some things that I was interested in, and she made recommendations. But one thing to consider, of course, is what I have in there already. So here's the list. I've got 1 pearl gourmet, I've got about 6 cardinal tetras, I've got 6 plain Jane Coreodoros catfish, and 2 endlers. And one thing that was important to me is that the fish I get are able to eat, a pretty basic diet. I didn't want to have another tank where the only food they eat is live food. I want to be able to put flakes in there and pellets and other things. I also needed a fish to kind of help deal with some algae issues because it's got a lot of growth going on in there, so algae obviously comes into play. So the fish she recommended were the green neon tetra and the farewella catfish. I hope I said that right. A Pinocchio nose catfish. So now a week's gone by and it's time to finally pull these fish out and add them to the tank. Some people quarantine a little bit more, some people quarantine a little bit less. Mine looked fine. A week seemed pretty good. So I decided to add them to the tank. I really didn't want to catch them in the net. They're kind of long and I actually don't have a lot of big nets. So I started with the catfish. So I corralled them the best I could into my specimen container. Then I brought them up and just added them to the tank. One thing I didn't think about when I was doing this was I added water from the quarantine tank into here. I think in most cases that would be a bad idea, so don't do what I did, although it hasn't caused me any problems, so hopefully that'll be fine. But it definitely could cause a problem if there was something I missed in the quarantine and I just added it into the big tank with everybody else. That being said, the fish are all looking great and doing great. It's been really fun to have them in here with all the other ones, and there's a lot more activity. There's a lot of stuff to see now. Okay, so next week we're going to go to the Fluval Spec 5-gallon, and I've got these little tiny garden pots that you can adhere to the glass, kind of like this one in here. And we're going to do some little tiny miniature aquascapes. I'm going to open these. We're going to do some little, maybe a beta lounge chair for the betta in there. So tune in next week for that. Until then, follow your bliss. Order some fish. I'll see you soon. Bye-bye. Oh my God. I'm sure this is wrong. Oh, and release the water. In theory. Oh, one got loose.